Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you are subscribed to the Substack Daft.Football, where you will get access to all of these charts on Google Drive for every quarterback in the class, access to insider information on the Discord channel, film rooms every single week, live chartings every single week, big boards, positional rankings, more and more. So make sure you are tuned in. Welcome back into another episode of the Daft on Draft podcast on Shrine Bowl Eve, as James and I are getting ready to head out to Frisco, Texas to cover the Shrine live. So if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that and support the Daft on Draft podcast presented by FanDuel. We're going to roll in through here with an episode of a Daft or Draft. We haven't covered some hot takes here in a couple weeks, but we're going to roll with it here. So we've got 6 hot takes that I crowdsourced from my Discord channel. Again, if you want access to my Discord channel, all you need is a free subscription to the DaftOnDraft.Football Substack, and then of course, if you're a paid subscriber, you get access to some insider information that's dropped in there as well. But again, this is another episode of the Daft on Draft podcast presented by FanDuel, and let's dive in. James, are you ready for some hot takes?
I'm ready. Lay them on me.
All right, first one here. Daft or Draft, James, there will be over 5.5 trades in the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft.
So I'm going to draft this one. This is actually your question, so I'll let you talk most about it. But I think when I look at how the positions stack up in this class and doing a bunch of mock draft exercises, you really see steep drop-offs at certain positions. And so I think that's going to increase the demand of teams at the bottom of the first round, and also increase the number of teams where, like, maybe Casey Conception is the last, speed receiver. He goes off the board at 16. It's like, okay, well, we're not in the receiver market, so we're looking to trade down. So I will take the over.
I'm going to take the over too. And I'm like, even just looking straight at the board right away at picks 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Picks 3 through 9 are all wide receiver needy teams. And there are 3 consensus receivers that you could talk yourself into in that range: Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon. You could talk, no, really 2 through 9, because there's only one quarterback. So you could talk about the Jets, Cardinals, Titans, Giants, Browns, Commanders, Saints, Chiefs, all being in the market for a Carnell Tate, for a Jordan Tyson. Some of them are going to be pretty scheme specific on Mekhi Lemon, but that's going to be, I feel like even up top right there, we could see some teams fighting to come up for like a Carnell Tate or a Jordan Tyson or a Mekhi Lemon. So right away, we're going to start picking some fights, I think. There's obviously always going to be the offensive tackle class, and every single need outside of like the Buccaneers and the Eagles need an offensive tackle this year. So like, we're going to see some fighting there as well. I guess the Broncos too would fall. There's some teams. Okay, there's some teams who don't need tackles, but a lot of teams that need tackles that are going to be fighting for a limited number of names as well. And we'll hit on tackles a little bit later on here. So I do think we're going to, like, this is not a very strong draft class at the top. So I think teams are going to come up and try to come up for the guys that actually have first round picks on. And I think they're going to be some teams that are going to be really eager to kick some picks back to 2027 as well. So I do think that we're going to see a lot of action in the first round of this draft.
You want me to lead off with the next one?
Let's do it.
All right. Daft or Draft, there will be 7 wide receivers drafted in the first round.
7 is a lot. So in the mock draft we did in yesterday's episode, James, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And with that 6 being Chris Bell coming off of an ACL tear. On my board, the next wide receiver that we didn't take would be Jeremy Bernard, who's 38 on my board. And I don't know if we're going to see a mid to high 4.5 athlete come off the board in the first round. It would be like Jeremy Bernard or Omar Cooper Jr. would be the next 2 receivers that I would kind of have elevated into that tier of like the 7th wide receiver. And that's even including Chris Bell coming off of a torn ACL. With that being said, I'm going to Daft this. I feel good about all of Tyson, Tate, Lemon, Concepcion. Those are the only 4 I feel like really solid.
Yeah.
I
think there's 4 locks.
Yeah, I think Denzel Boston will go first round, and then Chris Bell is a toss up. Healthy Chris Bell, yeah. November ACL tear Chris Bell, I don't know.
So
So
let's move this to 6 then, because to me it's an
okay,
easy daft for 7. So what would
yeah.
you do for 6?
So 6 is Chris Bell goes first round, or some team wants a Jeremy Bernard or Omar Cooper Jr. in the first round, from my board perspective.
Yeah.
I think I'll draft 6 as well. Yeah, I'll draft 6 as well. The Chris Bell ACL tear, I think, is gonna cause some issues, and I do know that Chris Bell's grades are kind of all over the map as well. Like, some teams have day 1 grades on him, some teams have day 3 grades on, like, him and Caleb Lomu are the 2 that I hear have the most up and down grades on, throughout the draft class. So, I'll draft even 6, I think. I think 5 is a good bet. 6 is, I'll probably push that one.
I feel like with Chris Bell, like if you have sports info solutions or something, and just like sort by team run crossing routes, and like that's going to be the order of like how teams are going to value Chris Bell, give or take.
Yeah.
Yeah, for this one, it's an easy daft at 7 and still a pretty easy daft at 6, because my wide receivers 7 through like 11 to 12, I really like, but I just think they are all firmly second round prospects with Ted Hurst, Omar Cooper, Jeremy Bernard. Then you get into Stribling, Bryce Lance, Brennan Thompson, Zechariah Branch. Branch, Branch is a wild card because teams love him like way more than me, apparently. He's 62 on my board. But I've seen some first round love for him. I am still going to daft this because of the Chris Bell uncertainty, and then I don't think Denzel Boston is a lock to go first round.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that as well. All right. Next one up here, James. God, this is a really depressing one. After draft, James, by April, either Cade Klubnik or Drew Aller of Clemson or Penn State will be QB3 in the 2026 NFL draft.
So QB1 is set.
God.
I think Mendoza is minus 7,000 to be the first overall pick on FanDuel. I think Ty Simpson as QB2 is, I feel pretty comfortable putting that in pen. I should say this is my Dafter draft, and the assumption is that Trinidad Chambliss goes back to Ole Miss, because I think he would be an easy QB3. If not, I mean, Cade Klubnik is my QB3, and so I'm gonna draft it, and just assume that teams see what I see. I threw Aller in there as well because even though he's way down my quarterback rankings, you never know if there's a team that just still is hanging on to a second or third round grade or something. So I will draft it. And I think Klubnik, like we've mentioned this before, he really elevated his play after the first couple weeks. He did have a rough bowl game, which I just watched. But I mean, the stretch, like the middle 80% of his season, I thought was better than last year when he was getting, first round hype. Probably shouldn't have based off of last year's tape. But I mean, I think you stack both seasons next to each other. I prefer his 2025 tape.
Yeah. He did raise his floor quite a bit down the stretch, and that's something that I've noticed when I charted him out. I'm gonna daft it. I think that some team is still gonna draft Garrett Nussmeier on day 2.
I could see that, yeah.
Yeah, coach's son. I mean, he had the highest summer grades of any quarterback coming into the season, upperclassman quarterback coming into the season, from scouts. So I think that Nussmeier would be my bet to be QB3 in this class. Now, the drop off cannot be overstated from Mendoza to QB2, in my opinion, in this class. And then even the drop off, I think, from QB2 to QB3 is this drop off too. So, yeah, I'm gonna daft it because I do think that some team is still gonna love Nussmeier, and that somebody's gonna take Nussmeier at some point.
Yeah, that's definitely fair.
All right. I really like this next one because it takes a little bit of projection, and it kind of forces you to put yourself in the mind of NFL teams here and do the whole floor versus ceiling conversation, and we're going to talk about offensive tackles. So, James, Daft or draft? By the time the 2026 NFL draft rolls around, Caleb Lomu and Monroe Freeling of Utah and Georgia, respectively, will be the first two offensive tackles off the board.
So is this counting Francis Mono as a tackle?
Yeah.
Okay. It probably wouldn't change anything for me. I will daft this because I think it's going to be Monroe Freeling and the other Utah tackle, Spencer Fano. Although I do have Lomu and Freeling as my top two tackles on my board. I just think that when you look at the level of competition that Caleb Lomu faced this year and how rough the Texas Tech performance was relative to every other game, even though it was earlier in the season, I still feel like when you stack up Fano and Lomu, I prefer Lomu's frame obviously a lot more, but Fano just has that elite foot speed, and I think there could be like some zone teams that prefer him. He's also somebody that I would feel comfortable moving to guard or center, even though he obviously has the range to stay on the outside.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the fact that Fano is getting guard feedback from some teams puts a little pause into my head a little bit about like how the NFL views Fano compared to the rest of the class. And again, it's worth mentioning that like we have to project a whole lot with these tackles. There isn't like this is not a class like 2020 where there were 5 taken in the top 15. This is not a class what was like even last year's class. There isn't a Will Campbell and an Armand Membu in this class.
2024 had Joe Alt, Olufashinu,
Yeah,
Jason Latham,
Amarius Mims.
yeah.
Yeah, like that. This is not that kind of class. So we have to. That's when I said we have to project a little bit. And so, given like the body types of Lomu and or not of Lomu of Fanu and Moe Noah, I really do think that teams are gonna, especially these are two really athletic guys as well. So if these guys test in Indianapolis, they're both gonna be like Indianapolis darlings. I mean, so is Fano, but I really think that like somebody's gonna take the body types, take the tools, and take the shot on those guys. So I'm gonna draft this one. I think that Lomu and Freeling have a shot to be the first two off the board by April.
And I mean, I think Freeling is going to test better than even Fano. Like I would at least, linear athleticism. Yeah, to me, it just comes down to which Utah tackle because I agree with you on Freeling.
Yep. All right, we're gonna stick around here on the offensive line, and this is
oh yeah, I'll do this one.
Yeah.
All right, so we got an Iowa offensive line one, Daft or draft. Jennings Dunker will be the third Iowa offensive lineman drafted.
So the NFL seems like they're higher on Dunker than I think his tape is, but higher in terms of like late day 2, early day 3. Like the mocks with him going in the first round or in the top 50 are outrageous to me, like completely outrageous. But he's gonna test at least decently well, I think. The tape is not good in my opinion. Logan Jones might go ahead of him. Bo Stevens doesn't have the measurables, nor I don't think
neither does Logan Jones.
Yeah, but Logan Jones plays center. It's a little more digestible as a center. I'm gonna daft it, and I'm gonna say that it's gonna go Jones, Dunker, Stevens.
So I'm gonna daft this as well. I prefer Jones and Stevens over Dunker personally. I think what's working against this is, like I said, the length. Logan Jones and Bo Stevens both have second percentile arm length for their positions. Jennings Dunker is at least 33 and a half inches, and you're figuring you move him to guard, so that's not too bad. But I mean, Bo Stevens, 31 and a half inch arms at guard. That's a pretty tough sell. I think that Stevens has the best tape of the three. They're all outstanding in the run game. But like Stevens a lot more in pass pro, and I think Logan Jones took a big step in that area this year. Like, could not anchor at all in 2024, and has clearly added some mass. But yeah, like you said, it seems like the NFL's higher on Dunker than we are, and I do think that as rough as the tackle tape is in pass pro, I think a lot of it comes down to just he can't set.
Yeah.
So I think moving him to guard would ameliorate some of the issues. So yeah, I'll daft it and say my prediction would be Stevens, Dunker, Jones.
Ooh. Wow.
But
Okay.
I have all three of them. They are all between 78 and 88 on my board. So grade them out pretty similarly.
Yeah. All right. So I could see a really zone heavy team really liking the dunker run blocking reps though. So like I'll
Mhm.
throw that out there. I think his pass pro is very bad and needs a lot of work. Again, kicking him into guard and alleviating that set depth will help a lot. Um, but like some of the wide zone reps are really good in the run game. Some of the inside zone reps are really good in the run game from Dunker. So um I do think that he's gonna be drafted higher than I would take him, but definitely not like I shouldn't say definitely, it's the NFL draft, uh, but top 50 feels crazy to me. Feels crazy to me.
Yeah, that's one where I just feels like we're not looking at the same thing.
Yeah. All right. Last Daft or draft here. Indiana just wins the national championship, and they do it with a bunch of old guys who are going to the draft. Again, Carter Smith, left tackle, had announced he's going back to school. We're still waiting on an announcement from Omar Cooper, the slot receiver. Still waiting on an announcement from D'Angelo Pons, the corner, and uh, Fernando Mendoza is declaring. I don't think that's going to be a mystery to anybody. But uh, James, this was originally set at 2. Let's make it a little more spicy. Daft or draft only 3 Indiana Hoosiers go in the top 100 of the 2026 NFL draft.
So what I was gonna say is it needs to either be 2 or 3, like, based on whether Omar Cooper declares, because
Yeah.
I feel like there's 3 locks, and then I could legitimately see, no one getting taken until, like, Elijah Surratt at 105. Obviously Mendoza, then Cooper and Pons. I think all 3 of those guys are top 55 to 60 picks. Um,
Mhm.
After that, my next highest graded players, I've got Elijah Surratt at 93. The lack of separation is debilitating against man coverage. I
Yep.
mean, you saw that they tried to run an RPO slant on third down, and he just got pressed into oblivion. Smothered when the ball got there. He is a pretty, like, technically sound route runner against off coverage, just doesn't have the burst and the, like, any kind of overwhelming play strength to play through tight press man. And then the contested catches, I mean, when he's going up against Oregon, he is like the best contested catch receiver in this class. He's very average and
Mhm.
on the other games. I think this is going to be a situation where, like, he had a lot of big contested catches in primetime games, and so I think people, like, who don't watch, the week 6 tape or whatever, are gonna, overrate his ability at the catch point, kind of like in the media. But I will daft this just because teams that win the championship usually get a boost. I think, Aiden Fisher's going to go maybe 15 spots earlier than he would have
Mhm.
if they hadn't made this run. Tyreek Tucker probably going back to school. The only other players besides Surratt and Fisher would be Lewis Moore, potentially could sneak into the top 100, but he's a very old player, not a great athlete. I think he's more of like an early fourth round type of pick, but he was, I think, their best defensive player besides
Mhm.
Pons against Miami.
Yeah, he was. I would agree with that as well. So for moving this to 3, I'm gonna daft it too. I've completely forgot about Aiden Fisher. Aiden Fisher, I feel like on my board is an easy top 100 player. Um, Again, I think he's linebacker 5 in this class, and again, there is that big drop off from the Trotter Allen tier 2 Fisher, but I have, like, a late day 2, early day 3 grade on Aiden Fisher, which is right in that comp pick range. Um, I just think he's a lot better than maybe he gets credit for, being an older, foundational linebacker that the college stereotypes kinda follow around those guys, but he's a better athlete, better instincts in coverage, good trigger downhill, and I think even the closing speed isn't it's not great it's not, like, exceptional, but I think it's good. I think it's good.
I just wish he could play through contact more. That's
Yeah.
my biggest hang up. But he's so smart. I mean, going back and watching the Miami tape, like when you watch it on the broadcast, you see Carson Beck take the drop back and then he's got like 7 seconds to throw and he's just staring downfield. And so I'm like, I'm thinking before I get into the tape, like, can he just not read these coverages? But you watch the tape and there's just nothing open. And a lot of it has to do with Aiden Fisher being so precise in his zone drops and, playing with the correct leverage on routes. Like he wants to go to this backside over, but Fisher's got it capped. So like just a lot of stuff that doesn't show up in the stat sheet of taking away options, forcing him to go to a check down or take a sack. He is a really smart player. I think he will be a top 100 pick.
Yeah, the depth that he can get in his zone drops is really fun to
Yeah.
watch for because he's kind of a more of a stout build, than like a long linebacker, but so yeah,
The depth and then the ability to bounce like from window to window. There was a play where he covered Carson Beck's first read, then drifted back, took away his second read, and then made a tackle on the check down short of the sticks that wasn't even his assignment.
yeah. One of my bigger pet peeves watching linebackers is like traditional cover 3 linebacker who can't feel out like a 3 like a classic 3 beater, like
Yeah.
a clear out and then a backside over. Like, you have to be able to feel that out and rotate out and robot and cover that. Like, if you can't, then, like, you have no feel at all. Um, and that's, like, bare minimum, and he does bare minimum and it does more than that, but, um, I do like Aiden Fisher. D'Angelo Pons, I think, I guess the hotter take here, maybe we rephrase this after we go through this a little bit more, but, like, would be like only 2 Indiana Hoosiers go in the top 50, and I think we could still talk ourselves into 2. Because I think some team might take Pond's top 50, man. I just redid my big board. I have him at 33. Like, I know he's verified at 5'8", like a little over 5'8". I don't seem to care. Um, Mikey Senior still went second round, just outside the top 50 a couple of years ago to Washington. He's hanging around on outside corner. I don't think Pons is going to play outside, but with as much nickel as teams are playing as pretty much base 75+% of the time, you got to have somebody who's willing to tackle. You have somebody who's willing to fit. Pons is a firm tackler at 5'8". He will initiate contact. He will punch blocks, not successfully a lot of times, but like he will at least do his job if he's forced to play end man in the line of scrimmage in run fits. And then his technique is as clean as it gets, even if he does kind of get maybe moved a little bit off the line of scrimmage in press tech, even if he does get moved a little bit off of the point of contact at the top of routes and off coverage as well. I think the recovery speed is good, and then the twitchiness is obviously there as well. I I like the kid, so I think he's a top 50 lock, and then the Omar Cooper, if he declares, he's going to go top 100. So top 100, this is easy 3. We want to talk top 50. There's
I'm more
obviously
confident in Cooper top 50, or I think I'm as confident in Cooper top 50 as you are in Pond's top
yeah.
50. Like I feel that he's coming off of one of his most impressive performances, I thought, and he barely like had any production. But Keontae Scott could not stick with him in man coverage. He was setting up breaks. He was crossing his face easily, and then did some good work after the catch. I just think he's so well rounded,
Mhm.
but is kind of a master of none type of receiver. So yeah, I have. They're both just outside of my top 50. I've got Cooper at 51, Pons at 56, but I would probably raise Cooper's grades. So I would daft that because I think just playing the odds, probably one of them goes top 50. But I think if you made it top 60, I would draft it.
Okay. So I have Pons at 33, and that will naturally again level itself out because I do use relative athletic score until I can find a better metric as that upside indicator. And part of RAS is factoring in height and weight percentiles, so, like, he's gonna get knocked big time for that when RS comes around. Um, so that will naturally level out a little bit, but I have him at 33 and I have Cooper at 47, so I have them both with top 50 grades. Obviously Mendoza's like negative 7,000 on FanDuel to go number 1 overall, so, like,
Yeah.
that's easy money. Um, Surratt is the big question here. I mean, I think we've already both dafted that only 2 Hoosiers go top 100. I think we're even dafting that 3 go top 100. Actually, yeah, I think we both dafted with Fisher in there too. So the Surratt stuff's gonna get interesting. I tend to think he still goes top 100 because again, 100 or 100 people have to go top 100, and 2, we've seen it in the past where like even if guys weren't overly explosive or natural separators, if they were really productive at the college level, which Surratt was for 2 years, teams still took them top 100. Like I'm thinking David Bell to Cleveland a few years ago, ran a mid 4.640, but was a Biletnikoff finalist and still went in the top 100. So, um, we'll see. I think that he kind of has that same feel. I do think that he needs to play in the slot at the next level for sure. But if he top 100 there,
Yeah, I'm looking at his they've got average separation by route. Pretty much every receiver like that's getting draft looks or draft consideration is going to have an average separation on go routes of at least 2.5 yards, like everyone that I checked does. And Elijah Surratt's average separation on go routes is 1.6 yards, which like lines up with the tape. And it's, I mean, it's why they use so many back shoulder fades because it's like, don't even try to stack them.
right, right. But I will say you did mention the refinement, like the late hands along the boundary, the
Oh, yeah.
body control along the boundary is all it's all there. Um, at the college level, we'll see if that happens with NFL defensive backs playing through his hands, if he can still do that kind of stuff. But all right, James, we just worked through 6 hot takes right there. You got anything else for the people?
That's all I got, man. Watching, watch a few more of these Shrine guys and try to have be as informed as possible heading into the week.
Absolutely. All right. We will be back tomorrow. We will give a Shrine breakdown as we are heading off to Shrine in Frisco. So, again, if you need to tune into the YouTube channel, please do. We're going to be doing a lot of cool video content at Shrine there. So, but until next time, this has been another episode of the Daft on Draft podcast. See ya.